Hello, everybody. This is Joseph Hasek, and welcome to the Fired Up Network. Welcome to the flagship show of the Fired Up Network, Fired Up Live times two. This is the second edition. The first edition happened at 3 p.m. today. Tonight, on the show, the flagship show, we begin the show with great coach Carmen Asako as he previews the Women's World Cup final on Sunday between Spain and England. Also, we'll be joined by former NFL and CFL player Antoine Sanders with another episode of Athletic Intelligence. After we welcome Drew Ebanks, Captain Canada of OnPointBasketball.com, and Alex Campbell, Fired Up Alex of Fired Up Network, to talk about the NBA, CEBL, basketball, Canadian basketball, and so on. And then an exclusive. The boys from Inside the Game give us small video clips of what you can expect for NHL 24. They had an exclusive meet and greet with NHL 24, and NHL 24 comes out October 6th, and you could see a preview of that game October 6th for all consoles. And then we are joined by Giancarlo Lino and myself on the wrestling show as we talk WWE, SmackDown, Impact Wrestling, NWA, as well as AEW Dynamite, Rampage, and All In. And we're on the UFC On Guard show where we talk about UFC 292, preview that. Now, the NBA came out with their schedule. The Raptors will open up at the Scotiabank Arena Wednesday, October 25th, 7:30 versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. Then Friday, October 27th, they're in Chicago. Saturday, October 28th, back at the Scotiabank Arena to take on Nick Nurse and the Philadelphia 76ers. And Monday, October 30th, taking on Portland at the Scotiabank Arena. Uh, the Lakers come to Scotiabank Arena on April 2nd at 7 p.m. Also, Golden State comes to Scotiabank Arena on March the 1st. That's Friday, March 1st at 7:30. And the Raptors conclude the season with two straight games in Miami, Friday, April 12th, Sunday, April 14th. The NBA, and they got the NBA Cup in the middle of the season, beginning in November, and the semifinal and final will be played December 7th and 9th in Vegas there. So that's the NBA there. Again, this is the second edition of the flagship show, Fired Up Network, Fired Up Live. We're going to begin now with Carmen Asako in just a couple seconds. Hello, everybody. This is Joseph Hasek, and welcome to the Fired Up Network. Welcome to the flagship show of the Fired Up Network, Fired Up Live, and welcome to the Women's World Cup Finals preview with the one and only Coach Carmen Asako. Well, Carmen, where's my heritage from?
You're Spanish.
Yeah, but I
And
speak English, right?
barely.
Yeah, barely, but I still speak it, right? So, was this a predictable final? We all knew we have to hit it to. I will never say this, but Giancarlo Lino said England's going to win it right at the beginning. They have the chance. I said Spain's going to win it. You said Italy, and Italy wasn't in it. So go ahead.
No. Obviously, it's a surprise when the U.S. do as poorly as they did in any World Cup. Obviously, they were going for the treble, right? The third repeat. So yeah, I mean, it's surprising for sure with the quality they still have, and it's just a credit the work that the European teams are doing, the investment, and it's just a kind of back to the European powers, but it's the truth. The women's game has gained incredible ground in Europe, and the North American game, although we have one of the better leagues in the world in the NWSL, it's kind of everyone else is catching up with culture, catching up with coaching, knowledge, and teaching, and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's disappointing to see, that the North American powers like Canada and the U.S., weren't in the final eight at least. But it's almost a natural process. It's almost a natural process because the Spanish, they play like the men. They're as dominant as the men. The English the same. So that's a statement to the game itself and to the culture, and it's probably a statement to Canada and North America that we got to do better. We got to do better, especially in Canada. Would be, I mean, the Spanish playing the way they do, with kind of just the courage and the relentlessness and the pace and the quality of the football has been absolutely fabulous. I think that I mean, both European teams being in the final and doing what they've been doing, especially the Spanish and how they've been doing it, even learning from what mistakes they did make against Japan. I mean, as far as the women's game is concerned, both teams are beginning to dominate. Both countries, have won the last two Euro championships, the UEFA Champions League. So I think that it's just a massive statement on the game in Europe, on the female game in Europe, and I think both groups, it would be very credible for both countries, but the Spanish women coming from where they came, I think would be the best story. But they're very in a tough situation playing against a strong English team.
Okay, before we look ahead to Sunday, got to look back at the semifinals games. But before I do that, for people who are watching the World Cup, and it's great, it's been great, go and support. And Carmen is a coach for women and men national teams at York. Go and support the ladies. A World Cup comes great. Euros is great. Championships are great. But the lifeline of professional sports, soccer, baseball, everything, is in the minor leagues. You see these ladies, these men grow from becoming kids to becoming adults, to becoming men, to becoming everything. Go and support the ladies. They need that right now more than anything, because we talk about ladies power or whatever, but then we have a World Cup that 4 million people watched. And then you go watch, and no fun to you, Carm, but how many people watch the ladies soccer game at York University?
Yeah, yeah, it's usually limited to the aficionados and to the immediate family. But yes, they're
And
we
and,
need
and,
to.
and and you can speak of that point. Go out and support, because the World Cup comes once in 4 years, Euros and everything. Go out and support ladies soccer, and for that matter, ladies sports. Carmen, any comments about that?
Yeah, we complain that we don't have a professional league, but we do have a very organized and very competitive League One Ontario, and League One in different parts of the country as well, BC and the Quebec League has PLSQ. We complain that we don't have these sports, but we don't do a good enough job supporting the semi-pro at the semi-pro level. So if you build it, they will come. It's the old if you build that fan base and you know put your actions to your words and support these leagues and support the university leagues, because we have some fantastic university teams in the OUA, and within a 20-25 minute drive you can be part of a great game. So put your exactly how Joe said, put your words to action. Come support, come show the federations above that women's soccer can be supported. Come to these games, because you'd be surprised at the talent level and the commitment of these student athletes.
And that's why we always on the soccer show, which can be seen tomorrow here on the Fired Up Network. Last question I always ask you is, tell me about your teams, because we got to support the lifeblood of the men and ladies soccer, and for that matter, sports. But let's get back to the final. Let's talk about the semifinal. Spain and Sweden. What did you think of that semifinal? Sweden always. We talk about Maple Leafs haven't winning since '67. Sweden gets there, and then boom. And that for ladies and for men.
No, I mean, just so many incredible stories. I mean, the Spanish, it's amazing that they have the pace of play that they have, the speed of play that they have. The movement is so dynamic. I mean, watching those games, I wish, regardless if you're a male or female soccer player, I wish you could watch these games because of their tactical level, their technical, their soccer by memory movements as well. And the Swedes are a perfect example of how to defend in a block, how to counter, how to be opportunistic as they were in getting the tying goal in the late parts of the game. And then obviously the Spanish just magic and Paruelo, what, like
Yeah.
a 19-year-old phenom who comes in and just scores goals for fun. And you say what you want to say about the disconnect between the Spanish players and their coach, but he's done an incredible job, whether it's for the last upteen years in challenging these girls and developing them. Obviously, there's other storylines that I'm not privy to, but as far as the product on the field, the Spanish girls are just a fantastic team to watch. Not only individually but collectively, their ball movement, their relentlessness in going forward, their movement, their penetrating movement, it's just great to watch. And the Swedes are the stoic, strong box, and it's true stories. When I taught my developing men's or women's teams, I always use the Swedish women's national team as the paradigm of shape, of defensive shape and shifting. So yeah, it was a tale of two stories, and in the end, we probably would have seen the Swedes win in penalties, but the Spanish flair and the Spanish resilience came out in the end, and it's nice to see. It's going to be a great final of some incredible individual athletes on the English team who, to be fair, out other than Sam Kerr's brilliance, definitely had their best game of the tournament, and that's what the English are experienced to do now. Not only are they, they're at their best when they need to be at their best, whether it's their physical best or their tactical best. But it's going to be tough for the Spanish to manage the English, and I think that the English with a Swedish coach and that background will be well prepared to defend them. But it'll be interesting. It'll be a fantastic game again. Almost a higher level Swedish team versus the flair of the Spanish and the courage of the Spanish to just go forward and play with relentless skill and enthusiasm. It'll be great to watch.
You know who I'm picking. Who are you picking?
You know what? The Spanish, they got here. I think. I mean, as far as all the empirical evidence dictates, it's going to be the English. It's going to be the English winning, but it's going to be a fantastic game, and I just want to watch and hopefully the Spanish can break them down in certain situations and just their dynamicism. And I think that it's going to be a great game. But as far as the pragmatical or the agnostical reasoning, it should be the English winning this game. I see a 3-1 score as well.
3-1. I go the opposite, 2-1 Spain. Okay, so here it is. I have to touch on this. The women's team for the U.S. We'll touch on it with John Nelson tomorrow on the soccer show here, either 11:30 or 12:15. Carmen will hopefully come back here. Uh, the ladies U.S. national team coach has resigned. Has resigned. They're looking for a new national team coach. This is big because U.S. is a superpower in soccer, as you know, in the ladies' side. So he has resigned. And I wanted to touch with Carmen on one other thing. Carmen's coming in here.
Sorry,
Carmen,
I
yeah,
apologize. Sorry.
yeah. Okay, no problem. I just wanted a couple other things. U.S. national team coach for the ladies has resigned. Talk about the impact because U.S. are number one team in ladies soccer. Talk about that, the impact of that.
You know what? I think it's. I think he's. I think he's kind of. It's going to be a new transition, and whether it came from the U.S. soccer or whether it came from himself, I think the transition of players. It's natural for a U.S. coach not to. If they don't win it, it's not enough. Regardless if you went to the finals or the semifinals, I don't think it would have been enough for the U.S. He won a World Cup. He did some fantastic things with that group in some very trying situations, and he should be commended for his for the work that he's done. But I don't know the reasoning behind it, whether it's a USSF decision or his decision. But I mean, as far as results are warranted, yes, it's what should have happened because of the enormousness of what U.S. women's soccer is in the world and how they lose in the round of of 16 is the knockout round is not enough. But he should be commended for his work. He did some amazing work, some very practical work in some very trying situations. And but I think now you need that transition. You need that transition coach. It's going to be a transition of players, um, and you're going to need that almost that Spanish mentality, that new change. They looked a little bit even when they won the World Cup, they looked a little bit you know afraid to make mistakes, defending first mentality, which the U.S. with their quality should probably never been that way. So there's some logic to his resignation. There's some but I think that the U.S. Lost a little bit of their swagger. They lost a little bit of their arrogance, and I think that he takes responsibility for that.
All right, final question. By the way, I'll touch on this more tomorrow on the soccer show here on the Fired Up Network, either 11:30 or 12:15. Talk to the guys, John Carlo and John Nelson. But I gotta say this, Carm. Now I'm gonna. We're switching away to men's soccer now. It looks like John Herdman had an interview with Toronto FC. This guy's the coach of Team Canada. All right. So let take us through here. You're a coach of Team Canada, national team, making strides, getting into the World Cup, and you're hosting the World Cup in 3 years. Now you have an interview with Toronto FC, even though they sucked this year and all that. But so is this a step back that you're coaching the national team and then you're taking a job or wanting to take a job for TFC?
No, I don't know. I think it's just if it does happen, it's a career move, a career decision. I think he may be tired of battling. I think he wants to be a pro coach, and doing what he's doing with the national team isn't a full time situation. It is full time for sure, but it's not a day in day out situation as a lot of coaches put it. And I think that's one of his challenges. I think that's what he wants to challenge himself at. In coaching age, he's relatively young, and he's accomplished a lot. So I think he just wants to challenge himself, number one, and I think that he believes that he'll have a good enough impact to make a difference in TFC. I think from what I hear that he is Bill Manning's first choice. although there's some other very good choices out there. And I think Bobby Smirnos is the other big name. I think that would be a fantastic choice as well. But it's all about, transitions for John
All right,
Hurtman.
hold on, Carm, hold on, sit back. I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of you, you not getting, and you're not paying me to say this or whatever. You not getting a chance, not even getting a phone call. We're talking about TFC. We're talking about if he leaves, Herdman leaves, the Canadian men's national team. By the way, the guy taught, I don't know how many players in the World Cup squad, how many players played in this year's World Cup squad that you sort of coached.
I've been fortunate to be involved with a lot of them. Yeah.
Okay, so they got to the World Cup. Why? And you don't have to answer this, but I'm going to say this. I'm sick and tired. This guy has been a lifelong soccer coach for both the men and ladies. I emphasize both the men and ladies, not just men, men and ladies. And according to Giancarlo Lino, which you can see here on the Fired Up Network, he's the head master coach and he has trophies upon trophies and best coach and all that. When, and I urge anybody, and Manning, you're going to lose your job if you don't make the right choice. I don't care. I don't care no more. When it's right and wrong, this guy, Carmen Asako's phone should be ringing, let alone being hired by somebody, but his phone's not even ringing. It's only ringing by Fired Up Network. That is wrong. That is wrong. This guy has been a lifelong soccer coach, and everybody who I talk to, you don't even know this, Carm. Everybody who I talk to, who you coach, have raved about you, raved about you. All right, it's about time that somebody in higher upper management with these soccer teams. You want to get something, establish a culture. You talk about every team. We got to establish a new culture. We got to establish a new culture. Establishing a culture takes years. Takes years, and the culture, it starts with the headmaster coach. And it's about time that his phone, let alone the job, that his phone rings, and you don't even have to say anything, Carm, that his phone rings here and there for opportunities. Because I'm sick and tired of I'm gonna say Fired Up Network is thrilled to have this guy. Thrilled to have it because nobody with John Nelson, with myself, with Giancarlo Lino, nobody has a better soccer show. Nobody has insight in any soccer show but here on the Fired Up Network. And I'm sick and tired of people not even ringing your phone. Now, let me ask you this. We talked about the Canadian men's national team, TFC, and all that. If somebody rang your phone, TFC and the Canadian men's national team, where would you go? You have two phone calls. They both called you. Where would you go?
Listen, I'm privileged to be working full time in this business, and I love what you're doing. I'm doing as far as the soccer is concerned. So I'm happy, and I go about my business, and I just I maybe
Okay,
I'm
you're happy. Listen, I'm not going to speak for you. You're happy. You coach the ladies and men, and you have a footprint in the future. But I'm not happy when your phone, when a coach in your stature does not even get a phone call. That is humiliating. That is BS. Just a phone call to see. Oh, what do you think about Smirnos? What do you think about this guy? What do you think about? Not even. How would you like to try out? You don't even have to try out. If I was in charge of whatever team, look at your resume. It speaks for itself. That's all I'm saying. You're happy, you have a job, everybody loves you at York University, but I'm sick and tired that your phone doesn't ring.
I appreciate your confidence, but like I said, it's I don't know. Maybe there's things that I don't know I can't answer your question, but um, you
There's
know,
no answer. Carm, there's no answer to the question. It's right and wrong. Your
yeah,
phone should be ringing. No question. No question. There's not a question in a world. Look at your resume. Look at coach men and ladies. No question. Should your phone be ringing? Yes. Should you get more opportunity? Yes. We have to dig deep. I'll send Giancarlo Lino to start digging deep. Why isn't your phone ringing? Because we have other guys calling you and saying, "What do you think about this? What do you think about that?" How come your phone rings for other guys, but not for the people who need jobs?
I don't.
Period.
Okay, let's
All right,
talk.
I'm not getting you in trouble.
I
Tomorrow I'll be more fired up here on the soccer show. But go ahead, Carm. Again, you're picking England 3-1, correct?
I am. But I think, like I said, like I thought in the Sweden game as well. Just to be honest, the Spanish have been fantastic. Uh, Best footballing team in the tournament, except for obviously the Japan game. They reacted well to that. Um, but I just think the pragmaticism plus the quality of player plus the quality in the final third. The English didn't start out that way in the tournament, but you know after their 6 goal outburst has been very good in the final third, and that's what it's going to be. It's going to be the Spanish and Paruelo in the box versus the English in the Spanish box, and I think that the English are going to be better right then and there, and. But it's been a total joy to watch this World Cup, and I commend the growth of the game and everything that's happened, and you know, and as North Americans, we should be watching this and learning from this and saying, hey, let's we got to do something. There's got to be better.
All right, hold on. Somebody's calling me from Market Lane, a new soccer team. I wanted to know if I know a coach. All right, so you'll be back here tomorrow again, either 11:30 or 12:15, where we'll talk. We'll talk about Messi scoring another 2 goals there. All right, we'll talk about that final League Cup final, Inter Miami. It's remarkable. There's 12 games left. They're 12 games, 12 points behind making the playoffs. Do you think Miami makes the playoffs?
It's going to be tough, but like I mean, we've been doubting them since Messi stepped on the field. And you know there's been egg in our face every time. But can they go on a roll like they're doing in Leagues Cup? Yeah, they can. Um, but it's I think it'll be very difficult for them. Very difficult for them. But there's in this Leagues Cup and the U.S. Open Cup, they like especially this Leagues Cup, obviously that Messi started with. They've been playing with this. Just he's made everyone around him better. And Jordi Alba and Busquets and you know they brought in the Taylor. This team is just getting better and better every game because
It's
of
an all-star team. Let's face it. It's an all-star team. They just have to gel.
it's Messi making players and Busquets and Jordi Alba making players around him better. You know the level has stepped up. Whether it's the goalkeeper, whether it's Kamal Miller, whether it's players that have been there and they're just that much better now.
All right. I'll bother you tomorrow, and you're tell me if your phone rings tonight after I go on that spiel here. All right. That's Carmen Asako. Stay tuned for more great programming here on the Fired Up Network.
All right, Scott, we got something pretty exciting this week. We got the chance to check out EA Sports NHL 24 preview presentation, kind of giving us a layout about what's going on with this year's new title. And we're going to start off first with the release of the new cover athlete from the Colorado Avalanche, Stanley Cup 2022 champion, Cale Makar. I think this was a great choice for a cover athlete, Scott. I love seeing defensemen on the cover.
Welcome to another Athletic Intelligence Experience. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Antoine T. Sanders, where books and ball and all. Welcome to another Athletic Intelligence Experience. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Antoine T. Sanders, where books and ball and all it involves is a topic for us all. So today, we're going to start by talking about financial literacy and my experience firsthand with financial literacy or lack thereof. So as I was getting ready to go into the NFL draft, I had selected my agent, Gary Richard, and I was eager eager to get a Cadillac Escalade. It was something I always dreamed of, and I figured, hey, the first opportunity I get, I gotta have that car. The other thing was, I wanted to go shopping. Any other kid out the hood, you think, okay, I get money, I want to go buy this, I want to go buy that, I want to go buy this. And that's kind of where my head was at the time. So I reached out to my agent. Hey, Gary, I want to, get this car. He was like, all right, go pick it out and we'll take care of it. And then he also asked me, would you like to
Hey everybody, this is Joseph Pasek and welcome to the Fired Up Network. Welcome to the flagship show of the Fired Up Network, Fired Up Live. Welcome to Ballin' with Captain Canada, Drew Ebanks, OnPointBasketball.com, and Alex Campbell of Fired Up Alex here, the Fired Up Network. Now, Drew, let me ask you this. Championship game, CEBL, championship game, all right? While he turns around and Alex doesn't know where he's at because he's a little bit confused, CBL. Where were you instead of Vancouver? You're Captain Canada. You're Captain Canada. Where were you on Sunday when Scarborough Shooting Stars, my team, I lived in Scarborough for like 12 years. All right, my team won the CBL.
I was actually in Toronto at the Jane and Finch Classic,
Yes. Now wait a minute. Jane and
which
Finch
is a little
Classic.
older than the Scarborough Shooting Stars and
But
the CEBL.
yes, but
45
we
years.
won. I spoke to Sam Ibrahim, the owner of the
Oh, did
CEBL,
you?
the Scarborough
Okay.
Shooting Stars, right? I did speak to him. He said because you, our season ticket holder, did not show up to Vancouver, you showed up to Jane and Finch, where there's a tournament, there's no championship. The Canadian Championship again in basketball, Canadian Elite Basketball League. That's what the CEBL stands for. Goes to Scarborough. 2019, the NBA championship goes to Toronto. You were there. You were partying. You were whining and dining in the streets. 2 million, 3 million people. Where were you? At Jane and Finch. Shameful. Shameful. As a season
As a,
ticket holder, making the amount of money that you do on the Fired Up Network, that you do not travel, that you did not travel to Vancouver.
I was
Shameful.
actually in Oshawa for the Jane and Finch
Yeah,
Classic.
even worse. If it's Jada Finch, be in Jada Finch, not in Oshawa. Even worse. All right, Alex. Now why are you laughing? Serious matter. Alex, you're in the States. Did you watch the CEBL?
Yes, I did. I watched the championship game. I thought it was a great effort by the Stars. It was really all about that second quarter, where they just completely outscored. Other than that, the game was really even.
All right. So, what do you think now that you watched a couple games from the CEBL as American? What did you think?
I mean, I think that like the talent level is really, really good. Like I said, on the last time we talked about this, I like seeing a lot of the guys that I remember playing in college in the States, that I never saw in the NBA just show up there and everything. And I think Canadian basketball, like Drew said so many times, is in such a great spot right now. I used to watch a few games in the old NBL, and like to me, the CEBL is so much better. So, I really love how it's put on. Scarborough being like the Toronto team was just awesome to see them win. I know it's really important to you guys, so man, I really liked it. To me, it's a great entertainment product. It's like right up there as entertaining as college basketball, in my opinion.
All right, Isaiah Mike, the MVP of the game there. Drew, you want to say about him and everything
hmm
like that? So I call him Mike Isaiah, but go ahead.
Yeah, great guy, Isaiah. He's been around the basketball scene, SMU guy also. Real good dude, real good professional. Know his father Charles very well also. Baby Blue Sound Crew, shout out my man Charles. But yeah, great performance by Isaiah in that game. Scarborough, kind of overcame, guys. We know the odds for them to get through. They had an up and down season, and things were looking a little disjointed. They got guys in and out of the lineup, missing certain players. Jalen Harris, Kyle Alexander with the national team, Jalen, with NBA stints. And Isaiah was also just recently at Golden State at Summer League. And then he came in right after and just fit perfectly into the lineup. 22 points for him on 80-16 shooting in the game. He did well. He killed it out there. And also how much minutes did he play? 36 minutes in that game. Had 9 rebounds, 7 assists, really close to even a triple double, and threw in 5 steals and 2 blocks. What a performance from him. And of course, the guy who led the team in scoring all year, Cat Barber, dropped 23 in the game, 5 assists for him, went 8 for 20 shooting. What a performance with Cat Barber. Moving over from the former Guelph team that's now in Calgary, who they played, he's really showing something. And hopefully Cat's going to get another opportunity in the league. Also want to point out Kyrie Walker. He coming in for a guy who a couple years ago didn't get drafted, unfortunately, but he's got that NBA body, poured in 17 points in the game as well. So it's great to see their performances. Scarborough, second year in the league, guys, and they already got to the championship game 2 years in a row and won it in their second year. And you have to shout out guys like Sammy Ibrahim, as you mentioned, the owner, as well, the co-owner with Nico of Drake fame, another co-owner, Giancarlo, and all the crew, Mike DeGiorgio, my man AJ Sharma, who's the legendary coach of the Humber College women's basketball clubs with basketball team with multiple national championships as well. Olu Famutimi is on that scouting staff. He was the first Canadian to make the McDonald's McDonald's All-American roster. Unfortunately, he didn't play due to injury, but he was the first Canadian selected. Terrell Vernon from St. FX out east in Nova Scotia. So a phenomenal coaching effort and coaching staff. And also want to shout out the guys on Calgary, guys like Sean Miller-Moore, Ruggsy, only had 10 points in the game, but he was fantastic this year. Toronto native from the east side of Toronto, Stephen Smith, 14 points for him in the game. And Jordi Shamanga, a Montreal kid, great future for him, 15 points in the game. So great to see Canadian basketball growing. And hey, it's a summer league. It's somewhere where guys can come back home to Canada, play, and get paid pretty decently as well. And you can see, guys, the league is growing, sponsorships. They picked up TSN this year, which is essentially the equivalent of ESPN broadcasting your games in the States. So congratulations to Scarborough. And again, they're having the big party celebration down at the Don and the Danforth tomorrow night, Friday. It's going to be great to celebrate, and they will have the CBL trophy on hand. Oh, can't forget the big cat. Never forget the big
I wanted to say
McGlure and Brady Heslip as well. Brady
right,
Heslip, right? Alex, Brady
Drew
from
doesn't know
Baylor
anything. He's a season ticket holder, doesn't know anything. So
shout out to
here
Big
it
Cat.
is. Here it is. Things that Drew doesn't know. Tomorrow is a big celebration. It's August 18th. Tomorrow, also, the WWE is at Scotiabank Arena. The WWE has invited. Be quiet. The WWE has invited members of the Scarborough Shooting Stars.
Really?
To be on TV, because WWE Worldwide Television, one or two members, I don't know who, are going to be shown on Fox, because WWE is on Fox. Now, that's number one. Number two, it looks like they're going to do another special ceremony because I spoke to Sam. Do you know this, Drew? Or my over-scooping Captain Canada? You're Captain Canada. I'm the president of the provinces of Canada. Everything goes through me. Right, Alex? Right. All right?
I've heard as much. Yeah, I've heard as much.
Yeah. So, first of all, Drew, big accomplishment. And let's face it, I did live in Scarborough for 10, 11
Myself
years
as well.
And a big thing is Scarborough is a lifeblood. If they love you, you're from Scarborough, they will always, no matter what, big you up and big up and all that, right? Also, I have heard through the grapevine that Drake will not be at this Danforth.
Will not. You sure about that? I have a feeling
but
he's not even around anyways. He's in the States.
Yeah,
he's on tour.
Never mind. I'm not going to call out
What kind of scoop is that? He's on tour, bro. Of course he's not going to be here.
Alex will call him out. But he will not. But
yeah, I'll take care of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Kudos to the CBL, and let's face it, Calgary put up a great, and Niagara and all these teams. But it just proves, even in the CBL, just make the playoffs, and you don't know what could happen. Just
That's
make the
right.
playoffs, and you don't know
Yeah.
what could happen. Now
Big
let's
up
switch
Calgary
it.
for making it too for the first
Yeah,
time.
and
Year.
Calgary and Winnipeg, for that matter, Winnipeg, an expansion team, they had like 8,000-9,000 almost every
Yeah,
game there,
yeah.
and and great jerseys, great logo, solar bearers, right? So I know Alex wants a few of them. Drew, you have the
You said
money.
solar bears? What is that?
The Bears, the Bears. I call them the Bears, the
polar
solar
bear?
bears.
I thought you said solar bear. They get the light. When they get the light, they
Oh
activate
my
the
gosh,
solar
this guy.
bears.
Yeah. You want to talk about Kentucky Fried Chickens there? What do they do in Kentucky? Come on. All right. So let's get we're taping this before the schedule comes out, but we know a few games of the NBA 2023-24 schedule. Alex, maybe you can pull it up. It opens on October 24th with two intriguing matchups. Alex, go ahead. You'll start us off there. Of course, everybody.
It's frozen.
All right, Scott, we got something pretty exciting this week. We got the chance to check out EA Sports NHL 24 preview presentation, kind of giving us a layout about what's going on with this year's new title. And we're going to start off first with the release of the new cover athlete from the Colorado Avalanche, Stanley Cup 2022 champion, Cale Makar. I think this was a great choice for a cover athlete, Scott. I love seeing defensemen on the cover. This guy doesn't even really play necessarily like a defenseman. He's got so much offense in his game, but he does play a two-way game all the way, and I think it was really nice to be able to see him kind of grace the cover of this year's game. Well-deserved for sure. And honestly, I just love when they pick cover athletes. They don't quite have the, some other games may have a curse tied to the cover athlete. I found NHL's never been that case. So it's just nice to see them showcasing players from around the league, especially players like Cale Makar, who definitely deserve this honor. But honestly, outside of the cover athlete, man, we are getting some new stuff in this year's game. They let us know about a few different things happening, and we're going to start off here with the exhaust engine. And this is based mainly around the goalies, and this is kind of a cool little mechanic that they've thrown into this year's game that I do appreciate. I'm interested to see what this is going to be like, especially when I get that controller in my hands. What do you think about this exhaust engine?
First of all, it is a little hard to kind of wrap your head around it without the visuals and the controls that we were able to see, but we're not able to show precisely at this moment. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to bear with me a little bit. There is, as you say, the goalie fatigue system, and that's really the focal point so far. There's a bunch of kind of moves they're trying to do to upset what's used to what the standard kind of goaling is, or as you've kind of explained to me, the glitch goal situation. So hopefully this fights some of that. But in any case, they've added a whole new meta as to what works and what doesn't. There's over 50 new save animations. So a little bit what you'd expect, right? Some more variance over time and tiring actions. So you'll see that fatigue kind of affect the sluggishness of the goalie. And there's a few things that really add to this tiring effect, and that would be shots on goal, of course, time the team is in the zone, and the passes across the crease, which of course is your scoring opportunity. You got to imagine diving from left to right gets quite tiring after a while. I've never been a goalie myself, though. I do have 10 years of experience, not in goal, but there's a lot of things you can do to kind of recover from this pressure, and that is clearing the puck outside of the zone, of course. If a play comes down to a stop and you do have to do a face-off, that's going to reset this. If there's a timeout, any sort of play stoppage that involves a penalty, that would make sense. You have to give your guy a moment to catch his breath, and hopefully you're back to full. But it's worth noting they said not icing. Icing does not count, so you can't just dump the puck and reset. And that's good because that would be part of the meta.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's kind of the nice thing is they're trying to improve the system of the mechanics behind the goalies, and they're making the goalie position a lot more approachable for players new to the series and even players that have played goalie in the past. They're trying to simplify things here, but that's where this, like you said, with the exhaust engine brings this sustained pressure system, that something we've never seen in NHL before. Essentially, as soon as you enter the offensive zone, there's going to be almost kind of like a little ring that forms right in the middle of the offensive zone, and every shot you get on net is going to start to build more pressure up against the goalie, and that actually is being displayed by showing kind of each section of that circle being filled in for every shot you take, and you'll actually receive a bonus if you fill up that meter while you're still in the zone. And like you said, if the defense can get it out for more than 5 seconds past the blue line, we're going to get a full reset on that particular mechanic. But depending on the gameplay, you can find yourself on a power play in the offensive zone for a little bit of time, taking a lot of shots. And I like that kind of push to be able to get that extra little bonus for your shooting and your passing when you do get that meter completely full. And on the flip side, if you're on defense and you let that meter get completely full, you're going to find yourself a little more sluggish, a little bit harder to get those passes out of the zone. They make you work harder to get that. And that kind of relates to how realistic that is on the ice. Teams carry momentum, especially when they're in the offensive zone. So the defense has really got to battle to be able to kind of beat this new mechanic that they put into the game. And I like this. These are two mechanics with the exhaust engine and this new pressure engine that just allows you to kind of work one and one together. And it just, to me, makes sense. And this feels a little more realistic overall.
It does. I think of those times watching hockey where the announcer is just losing his mind after a couple seconds in the game and a couple too many passes, and it's just, you can feel that pressure rise, and that's what I want to see in an NHL game. one of the big systems that they showed off was the physics-based contact, and they really want to seemingly change kind of your attack vector, and it's just really interesting. There's body hits. You can make them really heavy by pulling the stick back and then pushing forward. That makes sense. It's sort of similar to a shot in the older games, but you do have a shove, and that seems to be the new change from what I see. You can kind of use a shove as a preemptive offensive attack, and that's where it gets a little weird and dicey for me, because although it makes sense if somebody's coming at you, you just kind of put the arm up to maintain control of the puck, and something I've done through the years, but a little bit more of a real shove. You really kind of disperse the player, but the biggest question I have, and I'm not certain if it was very well described, I don't believe so, but if that stick is controlling a shove, what's stopping that from doing a wrist shot? Because that's my old, albeit outdated, knowledge on the game at this point. So I'm wondering how that control works out.
Yeah, like I said, we both saw the same video clip, and the player was carrying the puck over center ice on offense, and a defensive player approached him, which looked to be about someone that was going to maybe lay a hit on this offensive player. But the offensive player was actually able to shove the defensive player down right before he made contact, which in older games would have been considered an interference penalty. And so to me, it was just very interesting to see that we're starting to get to more of a realistic simulation of what hockey is really like. You have the ability, if you're stronger than that defenseman and you're carrying the puck, to knock him over if you want to. And I can appreciate that, Scott. I think that's pretty cool. Again, they didn't give us a ton as far as visuals on how that all works and what we're going to see as far as controls, but they did let us know that they have started to lay out the controls in a bit of a different manner. I imagine the skill sticks and some of the stuff, the NHL 94 controls will all be options that you can choose from, but it sounds like they've revamped the kind of the layout of the controls to allow you to take, a little bit of the, how difficult it's been in the past to maybe make some of these skill maneuvers, especially for newer players. And it sounds like they're going to turn into more of a one-button kind of control, which is cool. I can appreciate that because it just kind of allows people that maybe aren't as versed in the NHL world to be able to jump in and pull off some of these moves that you get to see on TV when you're watching these NHL games. So it's cool to see them make it a little bit more accessible. And in that same vein, they're actually going to make the goalies a little more accessible. They talked about how they're trying to make goalie controls a lot more approachable. Just like in real life, not everybody plays goalies. There's a lot less goalies than there are skaters. So they want to be able to make that position in-game a lot more approachable for people and have a lot more fun. And this is where the instinct system actually comes in with goalies. They called it the game within the game. So if you're playing as goalie, you actually get the option. There's going to be some visual kind of assisting things to help you on screen for you to be able to decide when a player's coming down with the puck towards you as goalie. You get to kind of guess where they're going to shoot the puck, and based on what you choose, if you guess it right, you actually get a bonus in helping to make that save. And on the flip side, if you don't guess it right, they're actually going to hit you with something that kind of makes it a little bit more difficult, or at least a modifier to make it slightly more difficult to make that save. So it is kind of a high risk, high reward type situation. I'm not sure if this is something that's going to be able to be toggled on or off depending on which you like as a goalie. I think this is going to be a new system that probably has that type of option where you don't have to use it if you don't want to. But if you do and you play a lot of goalie, I think this could be a really rewarding mechanic. And like I said earlier, it is the game within the game. So, as you're playing goalie, you're watching your team score goals down the other end of the ice. You don't have a whole heck of a lot to do. So when the action does come down in your end of the ice, you have the ability to kind of have a few more options, and it just makes it just that much more engaging.
I never really considered being stuck just as the goalie because it's been a while, granted, since I've played these games online. So I imagine that would be much more high intensity. But the idea of taking a guess, that's what goalies do, really. This isn't soccer, but this is similar. You have to guess either glove side or not. And that I can imagine that'll fit well into the fatigue system. You're going to gas your goalie out if you keep making the wrong call. And that makes a lot of sense. It actually looks like it drives the intensity way up.
Oh, definitely. Well, Scott, some of the changes coming to the different game modes we're getting in this one, we're seeing some pretty cool stuff. We're going to see World of Chell's going to be bringing a battle pass, which I know some people don't necessarily love battle passes, but I think in this particular setup, it's going to work. From the small preview they showed us, there looks like there's some pretty cool stuff you can unlock on the battle pass. It's going to let you deck out your skater, customize them to however you'd like. I think that the ability of the customization zone has really changed this year. They're allowing you to kind of be a lot more personal with your choices. You can really tailor your look to how you want to kind of present your avatar online to everybody else. And that's something that's really cool. I mean, everyone likes variety, especially when it comes to creating their own personal character. So seeing those changes coming this year is really nice. I mean, we're getting a lot of changes in the creation zone. We're getting the battle pass. We're seeing some changes in EA Sports Hockey League with a 16 game now playoff, which is really cool. EA Sports Hockey League is my game mode. That's the game mode I enjoy playing the most. And the playoffs before were kind of like a 3 game. If you lose, you're out. Or if you lose, you get one chance. But after that, if you lose again, you're out. Here, this is more laid out like the NHL playoffs. You got to win 16 games to win that Stanley Cup. And in EA Sports Hockey League, if you win the league, I mean, you can hold those bragging rights over a lot of people. And the fact is they've said they've changed the presentation even of that kind of Stanley Cup presentation at the end of EA Sports Hockey League. You win that cup, there's going to be something kind of custom for your team, so you really get to enjoy that moment when you get there. And I like that. I like the ability to be able to really grind out those games with your team and get to that end and climb that hill. I'm sure it's going to be difficult because there's a lot of great players out there, but I think this layout is just going to be more realistic to how we do it in the NHL nowadays. You need 16 wins to win the Stanley Cup, so in EA Sports Hockey League, we should need 16 games to win, or 16 wins to be able to get that cup in that as well. For me, that's the biggest draw. I'm a huge fan of that particular game mode, and I'm just really excited to be able to jump in and kind of test out some of the changes in these game modes.
It's really interesting that that's going to perhaps crown you as the Stanley Cup winner. I wonder how long that's going to... Are they going to put your name out everywhere? Is it going to be my gamer tag? Well, not my particular one, but... And how long does that displayed for? Is it all a year? There's still questions that I really want answers for, but it is interesting, the idea of putting your fame out there, putting you in the spotlight. I like it. I have a split kind of feeling about this next detail. There's battle passes being added to the game. That's one thing. It kind of makes me roll my eyes, but at the same time, I see a lot of value to that. But there is also the addition of a storefront in this game, which is going to introduce, luckily, some in-game currency, grind points they call it. But I suspect there will be paid currency model as well. That's generally the purpose of these kind of things. They're going to include custom characters, some different celebrations. I imagine a lot of different kind of items for your character. And what they said was unique player classes. I'm not sure exactly what that means in terms of this game, but the idea that there's something behind a paywall potentially that is exclusive and it affects the gameplay, that's what gets my back up a little bit. But how do you feel about this? You are by far the veteran here.
Well, you know what? When you hear storefront, the first thing you think is, well, I don't want to give you any more of my money, right? But they like you said, they introduced grind points, which essentially is going to get rid of what we knew as hockey bags in the past, which is essentially were just loot crates that you earned for playing in game. It wasn't something you had to purchase. And you just got, a random batch of equipment. It may be equipment, it may be a celebration, it may be stuff for your arena, whether it be sounds or lights or something like that. There's quite a few items in these hockey bags. And now with this storefront and these grind points, they just allow people to go in and purchase the stuff they want. Things that you want to add to your arena, things you want to add to your skater. I mean, I could open 50 hockey bags and not get a single Buffalo Sabres thing. For some people, that might be okay. For me, not so much. I'm looking for the Sabres stuff. So being able to jump in now to this storefront, which I imagine will have a rotating list of items, especially for some of the paid stuff when it comes to using your real money. But the in-game currency, I imagine there's going to be in-game events and things where you'll be able to earn some extra currency to be able to get in and get some more exclusive items and things like that. This storefront environment is something new for this game, and I'm not entirely sure what it's going to look like completely. I'm intrigued. I think as long as we earn enough in-game currency, we don't need to spend our real money. It'll be a model that will work for everybody here.
I'm a little worried that it's going to take a not serious approach. And although I do like some of the features we see in other games, I don't want to see the silliness brought to this one. Can I be a mascot on the ice? There's just an example, which maybe that's fun for some people, but I like a serious tone.
Scott, the last game mode we're going to look at is Hockey Ultimate Team. There's been a few changes here, but the biggest one is going to be the new Hut Moments, which is essentially allow you to jump in and play different moments throughout NHL history, like Gretzky scoring 50 and 39, things like that. Different challenges that are going to allow you to jump in and play these real moments that have happened, and you get to choose kind of how that history gets rewritten or just redone, you know what I mean? And that's a cool thing. I think having the ability to kind of jump in and play these nostalgic moments from hockey games we may have watched in the past, games our parents have watched and told us about, that's kind of a cool addition to this game mode. It's going to kind of freshen things up for Hut this year, and I think there's going to be some really cool rewards that are going to follow with that. And on top of new things, we're also going to be talking about new presentation of this game overall. We're going to be looking at, I think it said 75 plus new goal celebrations, and they're calling it kind of the flex moments, or being able to flex your own style. And I mean, we've had goal celebrations in this game for a few games, and you can pick all different kinds of ones. There's a lot to choose from, but it sounds like we're going to kind of get another layer here. We're going to be able to customize how we celebrate on the ice and how it's presented to us visually, kind of fully custom, especially in some of these different game modes like World of Chell and EA Sports Hockey League as well, where you get to actually customize your arena and things like that. So being able to see these different changes, I mean, every year we're going to get new presentation changes, but if you've watched any NHL recently, you've realized that now when you watch it on TV, we see different things that we never used to see. We see digital boards and ads and things changing all over the ice. It sounds like we're going to be getting dynamic boards as well in this game. So it's not necessarily going to just be ads. It's going to be showing us information about the game, whether it be the score, time on the clock, time on a penalty kill, something like that, which is really cool, because that's just something that's going to be right there in your face. You don't necessarily have to take your eyes away from the action to go look up at the scoreboard, which has never really been an issue, but it's nice to see they've addressed things like that. And again, they're just trying to keep it as current as they can so that the product we see on TV is very similar to what we're going to be playing in this game. And that's something I think all players are going to appreciate. And honestly, Scott, this presentation overall has given me enough to be like, you know what, I'm kind of excited for some of these changes. I mean, some years you just feel like you're just getting, a few extra buzzwords and we're changing this, we're changing that, but you don't really feel the change. And just from the gameplay we were shown, I think there's going to be a big change in this year's game. I think there's going to be some definitely new mechanics that are going to add a new dimension to your NHL experience. And for me, I'm excited to kind of get my hands on this one when it finally releases.
I haven't played hockey in a very, very long time, so I kind of slip out, real life hockey that is. Yeah. So I kind of slip in and out of interest, but I have to say, and it was designed this way, of course, but watching this presentation, by the end of it, I'm psyched to get back into hockey again.
Oh, it's exciting. I mean, this one's going to be dropping on, I believe, on October 6th is the official release date. And if you do pre-order before September 25th, you're going to get a whole bunch of extra stuff. I think you're going to get a Cale Makar item. There's a Hut Power icon pack, 4,500 Chell points. There's 3-day early access, which I know a lot of people are going to be interested in, and that might be worth pre-ordering for. And there's also going to be dual entitlements. So if you do pre-order, you're going to be able to play it on your current gen plus old gen if you have both, which is always nice because you can't cross play between Xbox One and Xbox Series X, but Xbox One and PS4 can play with each other, whereas the Series X and S can play with PS5. That's just kind of the way it's been for the last couple of years since the next gen console have come out. But you can appreciate the fact that you have the ability to pick up both titles depending on which console you have, whether you've got one or both. That's really nice to see. We're also going to be getting World of Chell Battle Pass, I think ×5 XP modifier.
That's right.
So there's some good stuff here in the pre-order, and it's worth it. If you're gonna play this game, you might as well get the pre-order because you're gonna get a couple of really good bonuses there. And that for me is pretty much it, Scott. They only gave us so much information, so much gameplay, but like you said, it's exciting to see kind of the changes they made. There's some bigger changes happening this year, and I think that's really what's going to pull the existing player base back in, and newer players to this series jump in and see some of the changes and make it feel maybe just a little bit more like a simulation and a little less arcadey. And, as far as EA is concerned, Scott, they've got titles coming out all the time. The next title they're going to be releasing is coming up. It's right around the corner, August 18th. We're going to be looking at Madden 24. So if you're a football fan, I know we've been talking about hockey this whole time, but Madden is the next one to come out from EA. And then shortly following that, we're going to be seeing NHL come out as well in early October.
It was outstanding. Thanks so much for joining us here. It was a fun one to call, and we will see you soon. For all of us here at EA Sports, stay safe.
Chapisic, and welcome to the Fired Up Network. Welcome to the flagship show of the Fired Up Network, Fired Up Live. Welcome to the wrestling show with the one and only Giancarlo Lino. Let's get to it. WWE. Let's talk about what we always talk about, the bloodline here. Jimmy J and all this. What is going on here? Is this ever going to be finished? Now, I read somewhere Sami Zayn saying the guy for Jackass, his feud is not over. They're going. Sami Zayn in February was battling for the heavyweight title, should have won the heavyweight title. Now he's bringing Jackass. What's going on? And don't forget, SmackDown here in Toronto, Edge, maybe last match, 25-year career. Give me your, first of all, let's start with Edge. Give me your memories of the Rated R Superstar. You like that, eh? Tony Chimel has nothing on me. Go ahead, Giancarlo.
Yeah, Edge. I don't know if he will retire on a throwaway SmackDown with no build, but who knows? Yeah, he had a return now after a 9-year layoff. Had a restart to his career. Got to wrestle the last 3 years and get that time back. So it's great to see him, especially when he came back and took on Randy Orton and continued to have these matches where he kept on stepping it up each time. I think that everybody's obviously going to remember his TLC matches with the Hardys, the Dudley Boys, and teaming with Christian all those years. So those would probably be the best memories of him.
And by the way, on this day, do you see clearly now?
I think so.
All right. Now, let's get to the bloodline. What do you want to say about the bloodline?
Yeah, I think it's been going on too long. I saw Kurt Angle talk about it, how he called Paul Heyman out of basically saying that no, they're not in the third inning, they're like in the 8th inning stretch, and they don't know what else to do to end it. I agree with him on that. Like, there's only so many times you can turn Jey Uso and then do the same thing with Jimmy, and then the next member is going to be Solo. That's inevitable. So I just hope they have a clear vision going into WrestleMania. It seems like Cody's going to be the guy, but that can also end sooner. I think Cody should win it at the Royal Rumble, and you have Roman and The Rock in a non-title match at WrestleMania.
All right. Sami Zayn with Jackass fame again, or no?
No, I doubt it. I just think they're doing stuff to keep Sami Zayn's name in there while Kevin Owens is recovering. I think they're going to do Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn taking on DIY when Johnny Gargano is back in the fold.
And it looks like that's going to happen in 2 weeks there. Now, they built this up, and you're a York alum, all right? They built this up for months. Becky Lynch, the man, or is it the man who likes lemons, and Trish Stratus. They finally have their match. And it ends off in a schmaz and 11 minutes in. They're going to have a cage match, most likely, at the next pay-per-view in Pittsburgh, September 2nd. Okay, then what?
Then Trish Stratus takes some time off, films the next season of Canada's Got Talent, and then comes back probably for a match against Zoe Stark at WrestleMania, and then she'll go and retire again. This is like the Hulk Hogan playbook. You go in, do the count out, the DQ finish, and then you end it with the cage. I see nothing wrong with this feud.
Yeah, because you're biased. You're biased. All right, anything else in the WWE?
Yeah, Jey Uso supposedly quit. He'll be back soon. I don't think he actually quit
Will
the
he be
company.
all in? Are they going to put the chips all in?
They should have bought him a ticket. That's a missed opportunity. Buy him a ticket, have him
How
sit
do you, how
like
do you
two
know
rows
he
in.
didn't get a ticket?
They should do it. If they really want to go in and take some AEW's thunder and start trending during their show, Jey Uso should go their camera side with his family, fifth row, and cheer on during the show.
All right, so that's number one. Of course, SmackDown here tomorrow at the Scotiabank Arena, but there's also other events in the next week here. Let's talk about NWA 75. Yes, yes. Yeah, and I spoke to our good friend Aaron Stevens. He's looking forward to Blood Force Trauma. By the way, LA Knight. His finishing move is.
Blood Force Trauma.
Is there a correlation? I'll get to it later. So NWA 75, are you looking forward to it next Saturday, Sunday?
Yeah, looking forward to that. Hopefully they deliver again. Like their anniversary shows have been pretty good the last few years since they came out of the pandemic, but I'd like to see NWA try to revive what they had in 2019, right before everything got shut down. I think they were the company that suffered the most because they were really heading in the right direction. Every week was entertaining, so I hope they can get back to that after the event that's coming up.
They dropped the ball when Aaron Stevens was going up against Nick Aldis, that Aaron Stevens did not win the world heavyweight title. Correct?
Yeah.
That's on me. Correct.
Should be champion by now.
Yes. Now, also, that's NWA 75 Saturday, Sunday. There's also Emergence from Impact Wrestling coming to the Rebel nightclub here on next Sunday, and then Emergence Aftermath on Monday. Are you looking forward to that? We got Deanna Purrazzo against Naomi or Trinity or whatever you want to call her.
Yeah, Impact. I don't know. They have to do a lot more. Like I like what they're doing with like getting some of these legends also back in the fold. Like Eric Young came back. That was a nice surprise. But
PCO, come on, PCO. You
yeah,
look like
they got to
900 years
develop
old.
something. They got to do something where like who's the next AJ Styles, like the early 20s crop of guys that they're gonna really be symbolizing with Impact. I don't think they found that yet. That's what I think they need to do. It's good to have all these other guys come in, but I don't know who their staple wrestlers are right now.
By the way, speaking about Impact Wrestling, our good friend of Fired Up Network team member Daniel Spencer, number one referee here, tomorrow on the audio side has an interview with Grayson Wilder. The Grayson Effect will be coming to the Fired Up Network next week.
The Daniel Spencer Effect.
Yes, next week I want you to grow out your hair and twirl it around because he has Bianca Belair, Grayson Wilder on the audio side tomorrow here on the Fired Up Network. Now, let's get to AEW. Let's start off with some news here regarding CM Punk. This match hasn't been announced yet, but for All In, it's going to be Samoa against CM Punk. All right, that's number one. Number two, there was controversy whether something happened with Hangman Page, whether something happened with Jack Perry. Really, something happened with Jack Perry? CM Punk and Jack Perry? What do you think of all this?
I saw something where CM Punk texted Hangman Page. That's nice. Like, text them too to get a program for All Out because that's the match that they should be booking. That's what started this whole brawl.
The match they book is pretty good. A 6-man tag. All the matches are now 6-man, 8-man, 12-man tags, all right? At All In, all right? First of all, Hangman Page with his buddy, his Kenny Omega and Ibushi up against Juice and Jay, and of course, Takeshita. That match is good. That match just got added. Also, Britt MD, my dentist, the Dr. Britt Baker, is added to the ladies' match with, it should be interesting to see Paige or Saraya winning it in her hometown, what they're doing there. Again, FTR versus the Young Bucks. Which match or couple matches are you looking forward to next Sunday? Again, Sunday, 0 hour, 12 noon. The event starts at 1. Then we have Emergence at the Rebel nightclub at 8 o'clock. So Sunday, I'm all day out wrestling wise here. So I'm asking you this: do you think it's right? I'm going to ask you this: at 0 hour, we got the main event guys fighting at 0 hour. So are they going to win the tag team, but then they're going to have a feud and throw the tag team titles at each other? Or they're going to lose to start up more of a feud for the main event? Of course, we're talking about MJF, my good Jewish friend, and Adam Cole, baby.
I think it would probably look to MJF costing Adam Cole the opportunity of winning the title he never won, and that builds up for the main event. So I think MJF hits him with a low blow or something, and then they build on throughout the night, and main event, MJF wins.
Or could it be the other way around? Because don't forget about Roderick Strong and the Kingdom. Remember, I'm just saying, in the UK, there's now a king. Kingdom, king. And then, of course, a week later, they got to put All Out pay-per-view. They got All In, you're going all in, and then you're going all out. And then who knows what you're going there, right? But you think, and again, they just added another 12-man person, okay, with Kingston coming back and Blackpool Combat Club. Are they having Daniel Bryan, Santana Ortiz? That would be good. What do you say?
I just don't know. He broke his arm in June. That's like June 24th, 25th. I don't know if he'll heal up in time. That was could be
2
a
months.
bad injury. I think we might need another couple weeks.
Do you know who this guy is? This guy's Daniel Bryan. Bryan Danielson. I don't know. I just maybe not. It just sets up Santana Ortiz there, or maybe somebody from the Jericho Appreciation Society shows up with the Blackpool Combat Club, because now they build the Jericho Appreciation Society, turning his back on Jericho, who only gets knocked out from Don Callis' family. Well, you're gonna say Cal. And by the way, Will Ospreay, you used to be calm. Now these F bombs all over. He gives him a sure shot, and he still says F bombs and all that. Are you looking forward to that match? Like, give me 2 or 3 matches on the card, all in, that you're looking forward to.
Yeah, the Hangman, Kenny, and Coda versus Bullet Club kind of came out of nowhere. That's a good one. I think that if they're going to really build this whole CM Punk Samoa Joe match, I think after the match is when you can have CM Punk call out Hangman for All Out. I think that would make sense, but they're probably not going to do that because I don't know why. That's for them. Maybe they have to just all look at the ratings and see how much more it could grow if they put that on TV. And I just think FTR versus Young Bucks is a good match. So other than that, I'm not really looking forward to Ospreay and Jericho. I think they could have actually built that towards a big Dynamite episode. You could have had that the main event and try to get ratings like that and show your fan base Ospreay and do all that kind of stuff. But I think that's going to get lost in the shuffle at this pay-per-view, kind of like what Jericho and Sting and that tag match did at Forbidden Door.
And what about Sting showing up as Joker?
Yeah, I think that was great. I don't know what he's going to do with Swerve. I just think he's going to be, egging him on a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if Goldberg comes out, makes his debut. Just keep him away from locker room doors so he can actually cut a promo and without fumbling his words.
In what match you're saying Goldberg's going to make his debut?
I see him helping out Sting and Darby and Brian Cage and Goldberg. Even up the odds there. Get Goldberg to come out and Swerve leaves, obviously, because I wouldn't blame him. And Goldberg can just beat up the embassy. Send the crowd home happy.
Beat up the embassy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Start that feud. I think Brian Cage would be good for him. You can have him and Goldberg. Goldberg goes over, build towards Wardlow, and have him take on these guys once a month, have him have a match, and have a short run with AEW. I think that would be nice.
And Wardlow, they're having 2 big pay-per-views, and he's nowhere to be found.
That's unfortunate.
Is it? Are you being sarcastic here, or what?
No, that is unfortunate. Like, he's a that he should be heavily featured. Based this time last year, like this stuff with MJF, how he beats him in that squash match, didn't do anything with them. So him, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, those are guys that should be featured a lot more.
They're going to be featured at All Out. Now, the question is if Ricky Starks is going to show up at All In because he's suspended. Remember, the guy's suspended. How can you suspend him when you have to?
He has a manager license, though. He didn't say who he's managing yet.
Yeah. So who's he managing? Bastion Booger. All right. So that is the wrestling show here. Now, as you can see, great job by the producer. Welcome to the UFC On Guard show. On Guard show, UFC 292 preview with Giancarlo Lino. Let's get to it. UFC 292 happens this Saturday from the TD Garden in Boston. We're going to see Milan Lucic go up against Patrice Bergeron. Never mind. All right, let's get to the early prelim. A lot of ladies' bouts, but give me one or two bouts that you're looking forward to in the early prelims, Giancarlo.
Yeah, there's three now because they added the Ultimate Fighter finale to the prelim card. So I think one of these fights got moved down here. I think it's Andre Petrosky versus Gerald Maschert. So I think that one could be one to keep an eye on. Andrea Lee versus Silva, it's another one, but I think Petrosky has a lot to gain here. I think there's going to be a good way for him to move up the rankings, take on a veteran. His only loss is against Aaron Jeffrey, who's in Bellator right now and a top contender. So uh, since then, he's won all his fights in the UFC. So I think this is going to be another win against a veteran and one that could be a stepping stone for him. So interested to see how he does.
All right, let's get to the prelims. Let's just talk about, unless there is another one that you want to talk about the main event of the prelim. Chris Weidman back, Tavares. Weidman the underdog here. What do you say of this one?
Yeah, I'm super like Chris Weidman just coming back alone is a win for him. Against Uriah Hall 2 years ago, kicks his leg, gets broken in the first like 10 seconds of the fight. So the way that's a long return recovery, and I think he said the first thing he's told Brad Tavares he's gonna kick him right when the fight starts just to get out of his system. So I hope it goes well for him. I think he should be able to win, even though Brad Tavares has been active. I think Weidman gets a decision win and moves on from there. But this I think should have been on the main card, but it's going to get a lot of attention on ESPN2, so it is smart that they did that because everyone's going to be curious to see how Weidman does.
All right, let's get to. Is there any other prelim bout you want to talk about?
Yeah, they added the two Ultimate Fighter finales from this season with McGregor and Chandler. The only one I can really see that could have fans curious is Brad Katona and Cody Gibson. Katona is already won the Ultimate Fighter in the past, and this was his return to the UFC, second opportunity. So it would be interesting if he wins the Ultimate Fighter for a second time, which would be something different. Would be unique. 4 years later, be the ultimate fighter. So I think he wins that.
And then make it a 3-peat 2 years from now, right? So that's it. Okay, let's get to the main card. Bantamweight bout, Marlon Vera versus Pedro Munoz.
Yeah, Munoz came into this fight. It was supposed to be Vera versus Henry Cejudo, and then Cejudo had to back out of it to get surgery. So
no, he didn't.
It's a big opportunity.
He went after Nikki Bella again, and then Nikki Bella's husband really did him in, right? So that's it. Anyways, and you know what? Cejudo is a very good guy. So it's another thing that the surgery and. It could last, from what I hear, it lasts 6 months. He's out 6 months. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I think he's going to come back at the end of the year and take on Merab Dvalishvili for I guess it could be a vacant title. Could be a vacant title if, depending on what happens in the main event, or I think he fights the winner of this fight. So either way, I think it's going to be a title eliminator for Cejudo, and I see Marlon Vera winning. Even though Munoz came and stepped in on short notice, I think Vera gets a win here.
All right, so you got the next bout, bantamweight bout, Batista versus Damon. Who do you call this one?
Yeah, I'm still surprised that they put this on the main card. I know Cody Garbrandt was supposed to fight there, but he had to pull out. So I would have thought they would have switched this with Chris Weidman's fight, but could be a good opportunity for both. I think Bautista wins though. It is on like really short notice. It's a lot to ask for the opponent there that's coming in and stepping in for Garbrandt. So I'll go Bautista winning this by submission.
All right. Magny against Gary.
Yeah, this one is another one on short notice for Neil Magny coming in and stepping in for Jeff Neal. I think Ian Gary, they have a lot of high hopes for, but this could be an interesting test for him because the way Neil Magny is like grappling heavy. So I say Ian Gary wins it, but I don't think it will be like a dominant first round win. I see him winning by a split decision. I see him losing one of the rounds and then rebounding and taking the third round. So I'll go Ian Gary by split decision.
All right. So, and then we got the co-main event and main event. Both of them are title belts. Let's first start off with the women's strawweight title belt. Who you got in this one? You got the champion or you got the challenger, Amanda?
Yeah, this is an interesting matchup. I'm still going to lean more towards Zhang Weili retaining the title. Aside from the losses to Rose Namajunas, it shouldn't be, I think, like a super difficult challenge for her, even though Amanda Lemos has like just different. Her fighting style could cause problems. I just think Zhang Weili's IQ is going to play into the championship rounds. I think she finishes her in the fourth round.
All right, and then the main event of UFC 292 this Saturday from the TD Garden in Boston, bantamweight title belt. Try to say that, eh? Sterling versus Sean O'Malley. Now, Giancarlo, there's a bet here. There's a bet. What color hair will O'Malley come out with?
Every color.
So, have you tried to color your hair, Giancarlo? I know you're a big Sean O'Malley fan.
Yeah, I'm never.
You think your parents will kill you? If you
Probably.
put pink and green and all this?
Yeah, I can do it at a new address.
Yeah. Well, don't come here. All right. So who do you got in this one?
Yeah, at the UFC, it's no secret they would love to have Sean O'Malley win this fight. Like they would capitalize on that Contender Series alum going in and winning the title. I just think Sterling is too good right now for O'Malley at where he's at. Even though O'Malley's been developing a lot, I think Sterling's not going to take chances. I think he's just going to take him down and tire him out. And I think he finishes probably in like the third round, fourth round by submission. I don't think it'll be a close fight like the Cejudo fight was. And Sterling, there's so much like talk of him going to featherweight after this. He was been saying that he will, but if one championship in the UFC can cross promote, he's recently been starting a little playful back and forth with Demetrius Johnson. So
Yeah.
if they can make that happen, I would love to see that.
All right. So a couple other questions, and we're based out of Toronto for the people who are watching and listening. So you probably get the same questions. When's UFC coming back to Toronto? So go ahead.
I would hope the end of the year. I don't think it would be a pay-per-view. A fight night in Toronto would
They got to
be.
come with a pay-per-view. They got to come with a pay. They haven't been back here in a long time. They have to have a pay-per-view.
Yeah, it could. If it's going to be a pay-per-view, then I would say next year, like April, March. But if not, if they come for a fight night, similar to what they did with Nashville and really stack up the card, could be a nice final fight night of the year for the UFC, similar to what they did last year.
And let's go to the other side because you handle Bellator with Sportskeeda. Bellator, any chance of coming to Canada, Toronto specifically?
I don't think so. With I think Bellator 300, even though like Scott Coker's been saying it's not, I think that will be their last event, and then the PFL will announce that they bought them. So could be interesting. Maybe the PFL has plans to come here, which would make sense because I don't think Bellator did a good enough job capitalizing on just North America. There's a market here. They have so many fighters that are Canadian, especially like Aaron Jeffrey, who's in title contention almost, and I just don't think they really did a good enough job of what they could have. I think they could have been a lot bigger in Canada if they had more events here and got more exposure.
All right, so that's Giancarlo Lino. By the way, Giancarlo Lino will be back here tomorrow for the soccer show beginning at 11:30. at 11:30. It begins at 11:30. I got the clearance from Carmen Asako, who you saw here earlier, previewing the finals of the Women's World Cup. So 11:30. And Giancarlo, you should check out how heated I was. That Carmen Asako's phone never rings for a coaching job. And we're going to talk tomorrow, and I'm going to say this. We're going to talk tomorrow how Herdman is the coach of the men's national team, but could get an interview with TFC. So, whatever. All right. And we're going to talk about how I was right all the time. Messi, 8 goals. I said he's going to go over a 10. And you know what's interesting here? 12 games left. Inter Miami. They're 12 points back for making the playoffs. Do you think they make the playoffs?
If they win this Leagues Cup, which is probably inevitable, it's going to happen. I don't think they need to win MLS Cup this year, so I think they'll just tour around. Messi will
No,
play
playoffs, dude.
some of the
You think
games.
they make the playoffs? Forget about winning the cup.
If they make the playoffs, they're winning, but I think they'll make it close. I think they'll be like 3 points out by the end of it. I think the Leagues Cup guarantees them a Champions League spot, so they have nothing to play for at that point. They can just build for next year. So I'll say they get close, and Messi probably will not play like 2 games that they boost the ticket prices for. So they're gonna have him walk around the stadium and take pictures for fans. So I think this is going to be something where they load manage him a little bit, keep him away from turf to avoid an injury, and they build on for next year.
All right, that's been the Wrestling Show / UFC On Guard, UFC 292 pay-per-view preview. UFC 292 happens this Saturday from Boston. Giancarlo, you did an amazing job. You're not going to SmackDown. I will not let you go to SmackDown in Toronto. But I'm a good guy. I'm gonna let you go to TFC on Sunday when they come back to take on Montreal. How do you like that one?
We'll see.
What do you mean? Well, never mind. All right, Giancarlo, tell everybody how they could get a hold of you.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, John_411, Instagram, Giancarlo_Lino, and check out my articles on firedupnetwork.ca.
And do you give information when you say John_411? Do you give information on Phil Kessel, his latest move?
Yeah, I think he should be the cover athlete for NHL 24 if they do an Ironman edition.
No, he's not the cover
Missed
athlete.
opportunity.
Kyle Mahar is the cover athlete. By the way, you could see an exclusive. Nobody else has this preview of NHL 24 right here tonight on the flagship show of the Fired Up Network with video footage. Our boys at Inside the Game got a chance to play the game, do a review. NHL 2024 comes out October 6th. Thanks a lot, Giancarlo.
Thanks.